Hey everyone, it's Sidharth Kumar from ReviewMagic, and today we're going to be reviewing Munich, Edge of War. This is a fictional political drama. It's available on Netflix, and I love history. So, when I saw the trailer of this movie, this is set in World War II when Adolf Hitler was trying to invade Czechoslovakia and all across Europe, expanding his army beyond his own territory. So, how did the British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, his counterpart in France and Italy, come to an agreement? And how did this time unravel? That's what is shown in this movie. It's a fictional movie. A lot of events happen in real, but it's also a story of two friends. One is a British person. He is a friend with his counterpart, a German person. And while this political ness situation is unraveling, they meet together after a long period of time. And does their relationship, their past relationship, help them? That's what we're going to know in this review, and also whether it makes sense to watch Munich Edge of War or not. So guys, the movie stars George Mackay. He is in the lead. He plays Hugh Legat. We also have Jannis Niewöhner. I hope I pronounced that correctly. That is played as Paul Van Hartmann in the movie. You've got Jeremy Iron, who plays the Prime Minister of Britain, Neville Chamberlain. You've got Lisa Fry, she plays Lenya in the movie. You've got Ulrich Matthias, he plays Adolf Hitler. You've got Alex Jennings. Alex Jennings is pretty much in every British show that I have seen. And this is a movie that is based off Robert Harris's novel, Munich. And the movie has been directed by Christian Schwarzer. So the first scene of the movie, is set in London, and Hugh is going he's walking in London. This is in 1932. The scene is set. You almost feel like you are in those eras. People are, kids are writing gas mask on the floor, because if there is a nuclear attack, kids, people, everyone wants a mask. So, it's that period. And then there is this spaceship that used to be there back in those days. There is a scene where they show the spaceship is up. It's made of cloth, but it's there people are trying to raise it. So, anyways, Hugh goes and he meets his wife. It's their anniversary, but immediately he gets a phone call and he has to go back to the foreign office. So he has to go to foreign office because he has to help with translation. He has to perhaps also help the prime minister with what's going on in Italy, in France, and get the updates and relay it to the prime minister so that he can give a speech in the house to tell everyone what his action plan is. So it's a very fast paced life that Hugh has. I mean, he works in the foreign office. He can't share a lot of details with his wife, so he's having a tough time with his partner. And that takes a toll on him. You also see in the movie when they shift direction towards Germany, and that's where they're showing how Jews are scrubbing the ground. It's not looking good for them. They are humiliated. They are told to go back to Jerusalem. It's a tough time back in those days, but it's very beautifully captured in the movie by director Christian. And I also do want to mention is that the first thing in the movie is where the actor George Mackey and Janice, they are friends in Oxford University in 1932. And George is studying German as well as Janice is studying English. So both are good in these languages, also some other languages, Italian, French, etc. So they eventually become translators in their own governments. So back to what I was saying is uh, this is a story where the most interesting aspect of the movie is that when when Paul and Hugh, they're young in the Oxford University. Paul is fanatic about Germany. He thinks that's the right way to do things. Change is required, and some people don't like it. And all of a sudden, things have changed for him. He loves Germany, but he doesn't like what is happening now, and he wants to share every intel with Paul or with the British, opposition. He's become part of this resistance movement, along with the generals in Germany who want to kick Hitler out, get him killed, assassinated. So it's a very tough spot to be in, and I think that Jannis does a wonderful job in executing that role. He's always on the lookout for what's going on. Is someone looking his back or not? But while in Germany, I mean, you feel that the environment is very tense. People are running. You can see all these German officers. They've got the swastika band on their military or uniforms, and everyone just is in that, hail Hitler, that kind of, they've got that passion built for Germany and for their leader. So it's a very tense environment here that is beautifully captured. You really feel that this could go either way. And there are some scenes where even the best friend of Paul von Hotham, when he's traveling in a train, his best friend, while Paul is gone, he's an officer. So he opens his suitcase to see whether there are any documents being smuggled or not, whether he's a spy or not. But anyways, going back to ultimately the scene, the ending of the movie is where the British Prime Minister, the Italian counterpart, everyone wants to meet Hitler in Munich, and they want to sign an agreement. Get some land, and that's it. No more attack on these countries. So they want that truce, and that's where Paul and Hugh meet after a long period of time. They exchange that document, but this officer is looking at them, and he becomes suspicious about the actions of Paul. In terms of the acting by Adolf Hitler, I think the casting was a little bit weaker. Ulrich Mattei may be a good actor, but he just didn't fit in that role. He's too skinny, and I didn't feel that he did justice to that role of Hitler, just like other actors did. And there are some tense scenes also in the movie, but which have been beautifully shown and presented. And but what happens in the movie, although there is a resistance movement, Paul is conspiring with a a lady in the foreign office with generals, but the movie doesn't really show what happens to them. It is a little bit surprising that Paul gets I'm sorry, Hugh gets the German document. He comes back to UK, but it's never found out what really happens to it. So maybe the novel never addressed what happens to those people. Sure, in history, if you go back, you will see that people who revolted against Hitler, they got killed, they got executed. Maybe this happened, but the movie doesn't show that. It does touch on a lot of the facts. 90% of the stuff is all real. I totally loved, you've got Mercedes being shown. It's 1932, and the Mercedes built back then, the hotels, the whole art setup, everything, I think is very well. And I also want to mention, Jeremy Irons, who plays the British Prime Minister. I mean, it's a weak point for him because, yeah, the war starts in spite of him, in spite of Paul telling him that you don't have to sign the agreement. The British Prime Minister signs the agreement, and then the following year, World War II starts. So I mean, that's how the climate was. You can't trust anyone, and everyone is just trying to play smarter or the other. But I think that this movie is definitely a worth watch at least once on Netflix. especially if you're a history buff, if you love action, you like the political crime uh, dramas or spy thrillers. This is a good movie to see that what actually transpired back in those days. How did the governments decide? Because back in those days, you didn't have email, you didn't have phones, you didn't have smartphones, and even the typewriter. You've got to make 10 different copies. You got to write 10 times. So life back then was difficult. It was hard. You would really get information following day as to what happened in newspapers and all that. But it's pretty inspiring. It's very 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 well, and I think the audience will like it too. So guys, I gave 8 out of 10 on IMDb for this movie, Munich Edge of War. I am sure if you watch it, you won't be disappointed. Although it's a little bit longer, it's a 2 hour long movie, but it does touch on various aspects: personal, emotional, whether it's political, geographical, whether it is military. Different facets are touched in this movie, and I think you do feel glued to your set. You want to see what's going on during that time. So I think the director did a great job. Acting was great, except for, as I mentioned, Adolf Hitler's role I felt was a little weaker. But acting was overall great. And guys, that's it from my side. I encourage you to watch the Munich Edge of War. And if you have any comments, feel free to write it below, as well as subscribe to this channel. So until then, I'll see you again with the next review. Take care. Bye bye.